Hi, students. Dr. Cohen here. I'm going to go over a little bit about open-ended questions. I'll start out by talking a little bit about the assignment, and then I'll go into detail on writing effective open-ended questions. If you feel like you already know a lot about open-ended questions, please take a few minutes to watch the very beginning of this presentation, and then you are welcome to skip the rest. If you're struggling and don't do so well with the first set of questions, you're welcome to come back and watch the rest of the video. Okay. So just a few key issues for the assignment. Remember that you're writing these questions because other students are going to be responding to them. And their responses are going to be about the reading. So asking them about their personal opinions on something is not as important and not as good of a question as one that really specifically speaks to the reading. Um, Sometimes you can incorporate some personal opinions, but for the most part, make sure your question sticks with content of the reading. Be sure that you have one question from each of the chapters. So each week, two chapters are assigned. There's 1 week exception to that. And in that case, I think I had indicated clearly that you were only going to write questions from the first two chapters, but you were going to use the rest of the content for something else. So pay attention to that. So if you're reading Royce chapters 5 and 6, you will write one question from chapter 5 and one question from chapter 6. Remember that students have to write at least 300 words in response to your question, so keep that in mind to make sure that your question is broad enough that they can get at least that much content drawn from the chapter. Be sure to include the page number or numbers from which the question can be answered. That's so that I can go and look for where you drew the question from. I'm not going to include those page numbers. Well, no, that's not true. You will get the page numbers when you're going to answer the question. So you'll see where to draw your answers from. Okay. Your questions get uploaded to the discussion tab. There are no late submissions for that. So if you pass the deadline, you miss the deadline. So make sure you post on time. Once you post, then you get to look at other students' questions, and you're going to select 2 questions to answer. It's going to have to be one question from each of the 2 chapters that you're reading that week, but you can select 2 questions from one student. You can mix and match it up as long as you have 2 questions, and each is from a different chapter. Those answers, your answers, will get posted in the assignment area. And that's because in the assignment area, they go through an originality report, and it will allow me to just make sure that there's no plagiarism. So just keep that in mind, that the questions themselves go in the discussion area, the responses go in the assignment area. Okay. So now, what are open-ended questions? Well, open-ended questions allow for an answer that is not brief. It's expounded upon. You can you can write several paragraphs. Sometimes you can have, in this case, there's 300 words, but it doesn't have a closed answer. The answer isn't yes, no, on Tuesdays, 35%, they're open-ended. Usually discussion open-ended questions start with what, why, how, when, where, who. And they prompt responses that are more detailed. I have the next slide, which is about, the idea is with open-ended questions, people respond in their own words, whereas closed-ended, it's a fixed response. If you think about if you've studied research, open-ended questions are more lean themselves towards qualitative data. It's more a textual answer as opposed to numeric. They tend to be detailed and thoughtful. Personalized is a little bit tricky here because really you're asking them to pull the response from the reading and not from their opinion. But one thing I would say is think of it this way. If you wrote an open-ended question about a section of the reading and 5 people wrote answers to the question, every single one of the 5 would be different. Might pull in different parts of the text. It might expand on one area and another one expands on another. So so that's the idea of this, is it allows for students to really kind of go in and sort through their answers and hopefully have more critical thinking when it comes to uh, uh, the reading. Okay, that's enough. If you have any additional questions about open-ended questions, you're welcome to email me. And I wish you well with your reading questions and your written responses. Thank you.